the marginal administration could be small if there's a state program, and if the rate could vary slightly by geographic locality, and if a GPS, so-called general location of travel is recorded, it seems to me it can be done eventually, but certainly not in the short term.
Yeah. Yikes. Yes.
One of the things I wanted to touch on is we did do an article, and I mentioned this previously in our magazine, that came out right around the holidays, and I understood that there was a bit of a bump up in volunteers as a result of that, with the magazine going out to half of all households. So that was very good. In response to that, we did get some member letters. I would put them in the skeptical category, and they raised questions about two issues primarily. They were about privacy, some of them, and all of them, I think, touched on this lack of trust and the belief that this is just another way to get money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
So, whether, it can be debated how much taxes are and how well the money is being used, those are worthwhile debates, but I think from much of the public, there is a skepticism there that we need to be mindful of. And
A righteous
take into
skepticism.
consideration as we move forward. I think the idea of variable rates from jurisdiction to jurisdiction is going to pose a political problem. I also think that charging different cars, different rates, or different rates based on your fuel or any other attribute, or even time of day or location of travel, those are all worthy policy discussions to think about. But I think that it will sink this effort if it gets attached to this, at least in the near term.
But the one thing I did agree,
No, it's not.
where it talks about hardworking, long-driving Californians can't trust Sacramento with what they do with their tax dollars. And until we can, she urges this thing to get parked. And I think the biggest thing that I see as an impediment is to all of this is that the dollars collected for transportation don't always go back to transportation.
You think?
And so the credibility issue is a real one. And I think that perhaps
Oh, well, at least
is
he
the
admits
biggest thing
that.
that will be the impediment to this actually getting fixed. Who wants to cut $750 million from transportation funding, but it's being cut because the gas tax doesn't work. And that's the reality. The last thing I wanted to mention...
Gas tax works.
just in this
The
kind of
money is
open dialogue,
squandered on things
is
other than transportation.
something that, what if there was a device in the vehicle that just as soon as you pulled up to the pump, it transmitted the data since the last time that vehicle gassed up, just the number of miles driven. For privacy folks, it's not like where they drove or where they were at, but it's just the miles driven. And it gets reflected on the price that you pay in the pump. So instead of, you're not paying the gas tax if you have that device, you're paying just for the miles you drove. So it takes care of any of this credit rebate stuff, where they are doing it in Oregon. You just, you've got that device, there's your charge for the miles you drove.
And I agree. The only point in Supervisor Steele's press release that was a little bit factual was the fact that we don't trust Sacramento. There's a lot of distrust. And Eric knows firsthand with the truck weight fees. They were supposed to be used for transportation, and they siphoned off all those fees to use for other things. So that's why there's, amongst other things, there's a huge distrust of Sacramento.
The more and more we say things like we don't trust Sacramento, I think the regular person, they might hear Sacramento, but they might not quite remember Sacramento. They might say they don't trust government. They don't trust Orange County government. They don't trust the city of Orange government. So again, I think we have to be careful not to bash government, to make statements about what we think government should be doing. But if we keep attacking and eroding governments by saying we don't trust a particular branch of government, we're feeding into what is really, I think, a national situation where there's been a loss of credibility of government. And most of us here are representing government, working hard, staff at government jobs to do what's good for the public.
You look like
So
you're
I just
sweating
think
to
we should be
death right
careful
now.
about how we use that and find the language again. We want to ensure that transportation dollars raised go to transportation needs.
Some of our projects, some of our key milestone dates, next month we'll be doing a planning workshop with Caltrans to finalize the evaluation plan, do a lot of logistical coordination for deploying the evaluation. We've developed an objectives traceability matrix, which takes the TAC evaluation measures and puts definitive steps behind those. That's really going to be the foundation for deploying this evaluation. We'll be doing surveys between May and July, October, November, and then January through March. focus groups February through March of next year, with PDT interviews starting sometime mid-June. Again, all evaluation reports and briefings to be provided no later than May 9th of next year. So, if there's no other questions, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Yes, Professor
Marty?
Will the data, the survey results,
Yes.
the films of the focus groups, be in the public realm? Will it be in the public domain? Will a citizen or an organization that is either pro or con this program be able to request access to it?
They could. I think we would need to further define that with Caltrans as what could be considered public record, what could be pulled under FOIA. What's out there. We want to keep any data that we provide, we're going to anonymize to the fullest extent possible. There won't be much on the data. It's going to be really the media that will be in the reports, the results in the reports.
You can follow up on that. I
Yeah.
don't know the answer at this point.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm advocating it. I just want to understand the situation.
Honestly, I see it as a potential risk. To be perfectly candid with you, we're going to collect a lot of data, and we're going to take this data and put it into a model, or a modeling suite that's going to conduct all these analytics against this data. We will provide the raw data to Caltrans. I guess I would recommend that it not be made public. However, the results of that analysis should be.
Mike, we'll look into that further and then.
Not be made public? Whoa, did you hear what he just said?
Direction in SB 1077 regarding.
As Mitch went over, there's lots of shalls and mays and should've, could'ves. I mean, it is going to have a lot of requirements for us to meet, but based on our pilot program that we have now, we feel that we can pursue something that would address all the needs and requirements of the grant program. We have talked to TCA here about potentially putting together a pilot looking at the tolling aspect as well as road charge. We are the pay at the pump option that Jim mentioned. We have, and Norma had talked about, we are meeting with them. It is a very attractive looking option for us to pursue. We're also looking at contactless payment. Visa has a program in place that they're partnering with Honda and doing some type of contactless payment option. So we're kind of investigating that, as well as connected vehicles. It's something that the department has been pursuing for a number of years, and there's some potential there.
And then the other point, though, I think this committee had mentioned or had indicated several times that the idea is to be revenue neutral.
Right.
Certainly in the pilot, and what may happen longer term is another story.
Up.
That's how you're getting.
Did you hear that? Get your foot in the door and then change the rules.
To supervise